Hello and welcome. Today we will be looking at the stories, all of the stories, and because I heard that people were wondering, what do you really think is a good story then? Because people have been hating a little bit on the last one, even though we got 17, I think, stories. And that is a lot, maybe 18 even. We can see it in just a minute. But then, what is a good story? Is it Strixhaven for being not all about combat? Is it like Tarkir because it had so many stories about that one plane? Is it one with a book? Probably not until now, but some of the books previous times were really good. But today we are really only looking at it until Wizard says there's no story anymore. Which is 2014, and before that stories have been a bit better, I would say, but maybe we can do that in a bit later because it would be more extensive. And today let's just look at the fun ones, and I have put them into these blocks, but let's get into that later. So first of all, we have March of the Machine, the newest one. There's a lot of hate about this one, but there is just a lot of stories that they can't all be good, is basically what this ends up in. And what I feel like is the consensus for most people is there are so many stories, yes, but I would prefer it if you would focus on having some really good ones. And I know that that's not true, because if they would only release 5, people would be a little bit disappointed too. They also made stories shorter than they used to be, so it will always feel maybe like it's either not enough. Oh, this way. It's either not enough or it's a little bit too much and the stories aren't good enough. But for March of the Machine, I feel like there were some good stories, and I think 2 or 3, at least the Ravnica one and the last story. Episode 10 were really good, so I would recommend them, but the other ones really weren't good enough to read, so I personally wouldn't recommend it. But there were some good ones in there, and some good moments as well to just remember, I guess. But it's I would say a bit too much reading for how much enjoyment you would get out of it. But I would put it in cartoonish, because it does feel like it is a story that is good enough to enjoy if you would just switch your literary mind off. If you don't expect too much of it, just to read something fun, it's okay, but then you wouldn't read all of it. Then it's okay. So next one is Phyrexia All Will Be One. This one was, I would say, a bit worse. It's for one less stories, but they weren't really all that better. I feel like Phyrexia All Will Be One, the story alone, was pretty good. Otherwise, no, I don't really feel like there were that many other good stories. There were some cool moments, but they could have done so much more with the reintroduction of the Phyrexian world and like Mirrodin that they returned to. So yeah, I feel like a lot of wasted potential is one thing. Is it fun to read as if you are going to only read 1 or 2? I'd say no, not unless you have a sort of guide on which stories to read. I would say no. If you would read 2 random stories, you wouldn't be very happy with that. So I would say I wouldn't recommend this to basically anyone. But we are going to get to some more positive things. I feel like Brothers War was really good, and they used a lot of things from the history of Magic, but they also explored some nice themes like war, and they went back on some of the stories and some things that they missed from history, which I think is really smart. So I feel like they did a lot of good things with this story, and especially nearing the end of, so I feel 3, 4 and 5 were really good. And these were just setups maybe for that, but I feel like if you would start from 3 and read onwards, you would also have a very fun time. So it's at least cartoonishly good, but I feel like the story overall Did it just disappear? Yeah, oh, it's still here, but it just doesn't have the white backlining. Is this the case for more? No, not yet. But just remember, I guess, that it is somewhere here. Oh wow, okay. There must be more that have this though. But we can still talk about it, that's fine. Dominaria United, I feel like was really good as well, actually. Then we just wait. Yeah. Yeah, so there were some really good ones. Faith in Birds is one of the best ones from, I feel like maybe even the best one coming from 2020 to 2023. No, that's not true. Top 5. Let's say that. I don't want to give things the best award already. I feel like the Squeeze story was really good and Homecoming was really good as well as a sort of... It was really necessary to sort of end this with Liliana if they weren't going to do it soon. After her contracts have been broken. But they did that really well as well. I feel like the story with Karn basically was what it was about. Was a good setup for what would happen, and it was necessary to have his story, which is very old, sort of cycle back to him losing his Planeswalker spark. I feel like they did that really well, and that was necessary. I feel like it is a good read and important if you are a fan of Magic as well. So I would say great story next to the other one that is now invisible. Little bit of a shout out to this one. It's just one story in the middle, and I know that it is a little bit pushed because they probably gave it a lot more time. They really wanted to send a message with this one, is at least what we know. But it is a really good story anyways, about, of course, love, that it felt just really open, let's just say that. And I think they really did that well. The execution, at least. So New Capenna, back to... Well, I feel like it was a new plane, and usually I like those a lot more. This one had some really good stories, but what I dislike is when they really force a sort of concept too hard. And I know it's Magic, everything is about the concept, but going by family to just go over everything, that's jump scare to me. That's a little bit too pushed. They did this with this, they did this with Strixhaven, and it makes the story a little bit less fun, but it was well written. So if you just look at that, that is fine. So that's why I would put this one in cartoonish. Because the stories themselves are good, but like the whole story as a whole, I wouldn't recommend. So the whole story isn't great, but reading it story by story is. Then we have Kamigawa. Wow, what is this? Oh, we go back to the old one. Is it and the manga? Whoa, I never looked at it like this. Are these new, or did they make so many stories for Kamigawa? I can't remember this at all, to be honest. I know these. Huh? Oh, so this is for... I'm not even entirely sure what this is. Is this the old one? Oh, it's just the story of the saga. Oh, okay, so they put that here. Oh, okay, I sort of forgot, to be honest, about that. But yeah, so let's just focus on the Magic story and the side stories, because I didn't prepare these. And they seem really short. So yeah, let's just focus on these. So Kamigawa's story, I feel like, again, it felt like a new plane because they changed it so much. So I feel like that gets some pluses for me, at least. And I really like the story between Kaido and the Empress. We really were wondering a lot about her, so there was a lot of curiosity there. I feel like that adds a lot to it. Story as a whole, though, they could have done a lot more because Kamigawa has so much of a history. And I feel like, side story-wise, they pushed bringing in new characters, but they forgot a little bit about the old ones, that they could have done so much more with it. like for example Brothers Warrior did very well. So a lot of missed opportunity for the story, but I feel like cartoonishly good again. So a lot of those are cartoonishly good, and those are, I would say, fun for the majority of people. So nothing bad about that. It's like, that's why it's in the middle as well to me. It's okay. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone who loves to read, but I would recommend it for people who like to see cool concepts, for example, or who want to have 1 hour of fun reading something nice. I feel like we shouldn't hate on that because of it, but of course you can be a little bit disappointed because it used to be all about great stories, and that would get new people in and make new fans. But we'll get to some of those. So we have Crimson Vow, which was about the wedding, and everyone tried to stop it. A little bit of Angel Blood. I feel like they did that very well. All the stories around the Angel, Sigarda, and isn't it? Or was it in Midnight Hunt? Wait, give me one moment. Yeah. Oh. Okay. No. Oh, so this was that. Oh no. Then it gets a little bit worse. Yeah. You know, what I feel like is they did almost everything in the story from the perspective of the vampires and then the heroes who were trying to storm the castle. That is a really basic story, so... But is it cartoonishly good? I feel like... Yeah, The Blessing of Blood was a really good story, I would say. Other than that, not really. So I would say... I would recommend it maybe if for that one story. Do we need a new... Can we? Oh, not to. Wait. Delete this one. Move this one down. Make this one good story. Yeah, I would say this deserves a new sort of row. Here you go. Okay, Midnight Hunt though was a bit better, I feel like, because it was still Storm the Castle story, but it was setting something up, so there was a lot of hope here, even though the hope wasn't justified, I guess. But I feel like the fear of werewolves was written about pretty well in the stories with Arlene Court and her caring for someone. I forget what it was about exactly. But it really made me feel like, yeah, okay, I understand now why people are afraid of these werewolves. And then the side stories were really good as well. I love the Lisa story. It's one of the ones I really liked. I would say, is this the one about the ghosts? Or was it in the previous one? I'm not sure, but there was one about the ghost. Sisters was really good. Of course, this was one of the stories that was setting up the commander decks, which also made them a bit better. And Tangles with Ren, they did that really well. They knew that they were going to make her a big piece of the story later. I feel like they did that setup very well as well, and it really started opening me up to Ren, even though I wasn't really on her side at that point. So yeah, did I put Midnight Hunt? No, I would say it isn't still a great story, but it does put it into cartoonish for having a lot of good stories, I would say. Adventure in the Forgotten Realms. Yeah, I looked at this yesterday as well. Oh yeah, because it's not really a story, it's more like a Dungeons and Dragons adventure that you can play through, and I have only played the first one, so I couldn't really say, so I'll put it in the lowest one, but I maybe you played all of them and it was really fun. I would say I don't know them too well. Plus, they aren't really story, because let's look at one of them. Yeah, so the whole story is like this. Two wizards went into a cavern, and the adventuring party goes into the cavern, and then the cavern starts to be set on fire, and that's it. and you chase the wizards. That's it. And then they explain a lot about the rooms and stuff like that. So that part is really fun. But story-wise, I would say it's not the best. So yeah, I would say Banished from Memory, more like the story isn't really good. And it isn't really a story. It isn't even really meant to be a good story. You have to make it yourself, you know? So can't really give that a okay, you might say it's a story, but I don't. Strixhaven talked a bit about this before, but the side stories are really forced, as you can see, into all 5 of the schools, and I dislike that part. It instantly makes it not a good story to me, but the stories on their own were really good. So again, I would say as a cool cartoon to read, it's really good. Is the story itself good? No, it was an Avengers movie again, and it was way worse than Phyrexia All Will Be One was. So cartoonish. The side stories were really good on their own, but they were pushed, so that gives them minus points, and a lot of them, to be honest. Another Avengers movie, because almost all of the sort of stories from this era were like Crimson Vow was, Midnight Hunt was, Strixhaven was, for no reason. Kaldheim was. Yeah, I would say maybe that is it. Yeah, that is kind of it. But yeah, last one in that sequence. But again, new world, which makes it fun, and you can learn a lot about that. And actually, the side stories were really good. Again, maybe we should make a new one. Like, side stories on their own are really good, but it's not really cartoonish. Let's do that as well. So row above, side stories on their own were great. And then let's think back. We have Strixhaven, so at least I would say Midnight Hunt is there. Lost War? No, just a few. Yeah, that's it. Okay, nice. We are still in sort of equilibrium here. And I feel like the same goes for Kaldheim then. Would I say side story? No, this is cartoonish as well. Some of the side stories were good, not just one of them. Okay, yeah. All right. New color. Is there something between these oranges? No. Pink. Always the solution. Okay, so I feel like we did that one. Zendikar Rising was all about the party mechanic, I feel like, in the stories as well. Yeah, the main story I really didn't like. I liked Redroot. I do remember that one. I disliked this one. And Hunger I really liked, so at least 2 stories. So let's put this into cartoonish again. Ikoria. Huh? We have 2021 first. Don't we? Oh no, we don't. This doesn't really have a story. It just has an explainer on the cards, which I feel like is a good thing to do. Oh yeah, but Ikoria did because it had a book. Didn't 2021 then also have a book? I don't feel like that. But Ikoria, I can't really show you what it was about, but there was a book and it was really bad. Wouldn't recommend, to be honest. You can download it for free, I think. They changed that and then they changed it back or something, but it is still available in some places on the internet. So you can download it for free. That point about having to pay for it is gone, but still, yeah, the story was really bad, had a lot of mistakes. Wasn't really fun to read it because of it. Could it be cartoonish? Not even, because how obvious everything was. Some nice concepts, but I would say let's wait for a new Ikoria set, because it has a lot of potential. The plane itself is really growing on me with these new sets. Are we going into... Huh? Wait. What am I doing wrong here? Here's Pharaohs. Where's Pharaohs? Is it such a long time ago? I don't feel like that, is it? Isn't Pharaohs on there? Pharaohs didn't have a story. Oh, yeah, okay. I understand better now. Is this War of the Spark then? Wait. Yeah, oh, okay. Now I understand better what's happening here. Okay. So it's that one, but what is this? Yeah, maybe we'll remember later. What is that? I'm not sure. Okay, War of the Spark. I would say it was just recalling all of the characters, and there were way too many in there. I wouldn't recommend, to be honest. Oh, this one has a white background. Okay, but maybe I'll fix it if you want to do it for yourself. Was it Throne of Eldraine this? Let's pretend it is, because I don't see another sign for it. Throne of Eldraine, again a book. I feel like this one was okay. Of course, it is one story, but that's logical. I would say cartoonishly okay. But then we are getting into some good ones, I feel like. Not really pushing the fact that there was an invasion. And it is pushing, again, of course, every one of the families. But we know that is the case with Ravnica, sort of. So I'm willing to look past that, because the stories, I feel like in Ravnica Allegiance and in Ravnica itself, were really good. Also, Children of the Nameless, very good, but not a set. But both, I would say, yeah, I kind of love them. Yeah. Of course, a lot of just the main Ravnica being really good is coming into there, but I did love these, yeah. Vivian Reed, again, not a set, but that was a really good story about telling us about Vivian Reed and her emotions, and they threw it away later. But it was a really good setup on its own. So maybe it's not canon or something, but it was a really good story on its own, I would say. Then Core Set 19, which was all about Nicobolus and his story, going back to that, and why everything happened. I would say definitely read this one. I really love this one as well. Actually, a core set that I really liked. Dominaria. Yeah, whoa, they really had a lot of stories as well. And I feel like they did this very well as well. So we're going into some domains where we are looking at very good stories, I would say, on their own. Why is this really a really good story? I would say because they use a lot of aspects from the world. Not every one of the stories is as good, but all of them are at least decent. And I didn't really read any of the mistakes in there. Any of the massive ones. This one's really small. Ixalan. Oh, and Rivals. Is it here? No. Oh, it's Ixalan, both Rivals, and yeah, okay, they put it in the same list. I would say, actually love this one as well. This was a really good time, and people were starting to hate on the story here. I really feel like these stories, now that we look back on them, were really good. I would say Ixalan, really good. Jace being mind wept after Amonkhet and coming onto an island, which felt really like really good relief after the first one. The race sucked a little bit, but after that, the stories were really good, I feel like, and really creative as well. And the four factions weren't forced too much. I really like this kind of, so this is how I kind of want it to be. And the stories weren't too long. Also remember, this is 2 sets, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like 7 stories a set is not too much. They don't have to push it too much. Just don't push. Let the people write, yes. But you did that with Ikoria too, sort of, I feel like. Like, don't have too many rules about you have to make a story about Prismari. You have to make a story about Wandrix. You have to make a story about the Vampire Coast. Vampire Legion of Dusk. The Sun Empire. No, just make it a story. Know what the story has to go to, what story elements you want to have. That they did, because you have, for example, Flood of Recollection that they wanted to show. They want to show Jason on an island, stuff like that. Sure, you can have that. But leave some room for the writers to think about their concept and what really sparks their interest and what they want to know, because otherwise, yeah, they won't make you the best story, I would say, ever. And they did that, leaving that up to the writers. I feel like they did that very well in Ixalan, and the same for Amonkhet. I feel like this one was really good as well. What's this? Why do I have to go? Oh, because they're story. Yeah, they even show it here. They have story elements. They want these to be pushed, and they want to really and they let people write around it. So Amonkhet itself, really good as well. I feel like the Gideon looking at a god and being so intrigued and wanting to join the trials was really good. We had Liliana's story through there, so they did a lot with this as well. A lot of characters as well. Genre, I guess, fighting again. Like the end of Liliana's last contract, aside from Bolas. The gods who were fighting and the new gods who entered all of a sudden. Yeah, really well done, I would say. And for that, I would put all of these in. And I actually love these. People hated on them. I actually like them. And same for Catalyst. I can say that already. Actually, we had a lot of good stories before these Dark Ages. Innistrad? Whoa. Is it after Kaladesh? Huh? Or is it just that they returned to it? Well, that's a bit hard to talk about then. Okay. Well, let's first talk about Innistrad. I don't feel like I have this symbol. Oh, I do. Oh, I do sort of have an Innistrad symbol here. Okay, so let's do that first. Well, you know what that answer is now, but... Innistrad... oh, having to take it as a whole, that's really weird, though. Haven't thought about that. But first one... Oh no, this is only the new ones, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Oh, I was really confused because I saw like Emrakul and stuff, I feel like. Or is it... Wait. Is this an old one? Yeah, it is an old one. So they did... Or... Yeah, they did. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So the old... Sorry. The old ones, I would say, definitely read those because they tell you a lot about Innistrad, and the stories themselves are actually really good. They come from like the Golden Ages, maybe even from Innistrad, and yeah, people legit drew over them, but that's legit. As I said, you see Jace's history with Liliana, and you learn a lot about their interactions. You learn a lot about Nahiri and Sorin, and why they are like they are. In the new ones, though, I would say very good stories as well. In effect, or around, for example, the Gitrog monster. What is he about? You see a lot about the werewolves and like Avacyn and stuff like that. Yeah, it explains a lot about the angels on that world, and I would say definitely read those. The Kid Rock monster story actually was one of my favorites there. And Kaladesh, as I said, I love this as well. Why? Because, well, again, they didn't really push one thing, but they really explained some concepts really well. Why are the renegades fighting so much? Where does their anger come from? Why does Gideon jump into a Gearhawk? Chandra's history, of course, that's I feel like the most important thing about the story that they did really well. And one example, just a small example of a concept that they explained upon really well is how Aetherborn work, how the Aether works on this world. It tells us a lot about mana, but the Aetherborn and why and how they live and why they live so short, why they enjoy life so much, was a beautiful story. I feel like that's my favorite one of all of these, but that's why I loved it. Yeah, Magic Origins is again, of course, pushed because they really. Who do we miss? Nissa. I feel like there's an origin story for Nissa. Huh? I'm almost sure, so you can look that up as well. But I feel like all of them were necessary, and of course tell you a lot about these planeswalkers as well. I would say if you want to read up about one of the planeswalkers, let's say actually Nissa. Just go to planeswalkers down here. Can you? And then no. Oh, they used to have this where you could click on the planeswalker. Doesn't work anymore. That's such a shame. Okay, never mind. They used to put all of the... Oh, now I'm here. The witch doesn't work. They used to give all of the planeswalkers like their own list of stories, which is very useful. But now you can still go to the Wikipedia, which does Magic's job better. But the Orange is very fun. It's just a few stories, only side stories though. So I would say, let's say just side stories. And they were great though. Zendikar, are we talking about original? Oh, we're talking about both again. Okay, so Zendikar story, I would say the original one is top tier, one of the best ones. New ones, not so much, but the old ones definitely would read those. So just start at the beginning and that their last stand against the Eldrazi. That story is really well done, and they really explored the weird concept of Eldrazi very well there. I really love that. So I would say if this is Zendikar, top tier and definitely one of the best. We're going to Tarkir. Yeah. Tarkir, the old story at least, is also one of the best, I would say, because of the plot twists in there. And I'm just not going to say much more. If you're going to read one of the stories, read either, I'd say, old Zendikar or old Tarkir. They are really good. And then Pharaohs, I feel like there's more than this. Oh, it's a book again. Oh, of course. We're going into books, so let's not talk about that too much. But we can do that later. But there are way more, and then I would have to include a way more as well. I'm a little bit sad that this doesn't work anymore. But if you want to maybe know what stories you would have to read, if you want to know more about one of the planeswalkers you really want to know more about, you can ask me. I will send you a list in the comments down below. So tell me maybe about who your favorite planeswalker is in the comments. Look maybe through the comments and see if there are doubles there, and I'll send you a list of the stories that you would need to read. Other than that, I thank you for watching and have a nice day.